Okay, so the night before you want to make your sourdough, I'm doing mine at 10:15. You just feed your starter 1-1-1 ratio. So 100 grams starter, 100 grams water, and 100 grams flour. Once you're done, go ahead and cover it with a cheesecloth and let it sit overnight. Okay, so now it's this next morning. It's like 12 something, but it's a lot colder here, so it'll take a little bit longer. But you see how it rose all the way and then it started to fall. And you can see how it kind of went up the sides, but now it's starting to fall. So that means that it's a good time to use it. So yeah, so then we're gonna make the dough. Make sure to be using a wooden spoon for feeding your starter and making your dough, and not metal, because metal can contain bacteria. For an added step, you can do an auto lease, which is combining the flour and water together, letting that absorb before adding your other ingredients. And you do that for about 30 minutes to an hour, and that's going to actually help with oven spring. So it's going to make a poofier loaf. From the moment you mix your dough until it's ready to throw in the oven should be about 4 to 6 hours, more if it's cold. This dough is a lot stickier than normal, but if you can work with it, then it actually turns out better. Once you're done mixing your dough, you can just put saran wrap over it and let it sit for about 30 to 45 minutes, and that's your first rise. Okay, so we did the first rise, and now we're just going to go back in with the stretch and folds. So you can either use your bench scraper and then kind of do this and stretch it over, or sometimes it's actually easier to get your hands a little wet and then do the stretch and folds with your hands. And then get right here, get up underneath it, do a little stretch it up. I don't know how well you can see this, and then fold it on top of itself. And then you just want to turn a fourth of the bowl. I want my hands again because I got a little dough on it, and then do it again 4 times. And then you're good. And then do that every 30 minutes to an hour, but it's flexible, so you can do it whenever you have time. Okay, so it's about 8:15, and as you can see, there's like bubbles all over, and it looks like it's risen quite a bit. So that's how you know it's about ready to get the rest of the process going. So we're gonna come over here. The hotter the better for the first part of it. That'll really get your dough to rise, or your bread to rise. So I set it at 500, and I also have a little temperature reader in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this in there and let it preheat, because you want this hot with the oven. There you go. So I just turned out that flour, or that dough, onto a floured surface, flour the top of it. I made a double batch, so I'm going to go ahead and split it in half. There we go. I'm just going to take that, and then so underneath my hands, I'm doing this turning kind of thing, and this is a little bit sticky, so I'm actually gonna get a little more flour on there. So you're gonna do this turning thing. You probably know how to do this because it's the same thing with pizza dough. I know you used to work at a pizza place, so this should come fairly easy. So you just kind of make it into a ball. And then go ahead and plop it soft side down into a floured bowl. I have a Banson bowl, so you're just like that. And I actually plop mine in the fridge, which will give it a nice rise whenever it's time to cook. And same thing for this one. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled the hot Dutch oven out of the oven, and then I flopped my bread onto the parchment paper, and then I'm gonna score it while it's in the Dutch oven. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Pop it right in there, kind of just like crunch up the sides a little bit. And this is very hot, but that's what you need for it to rise well. And then you just kind of, and doing this scoring is gonna allow it to have a little weak spot in the dough, and that's where it'll really poof and rise. We're gonna stick that on. Stick it in our hot oven and set our timer for 20 minutes. Back. Okay, so 20 minutes later, I took the lid off and you can see it rose pretty good. So we're gonna let the next 10 to 15 minutes be forming the crust. And here is the final product.